In the United States, where a federal jury in Boston sentenced Dzhokhar Tsarnaev to death for the 2013 Boston Marathon bombings, which killed 3 people, including an 8-year-old boy. The jury found the death penalty was appropriate punishment for 6 out of 17 capital counts. More than 240 people were severely injured and 17 lost at least a limb as the marathon was transformed into a scene of utter carnage that day. It's the first time a federal jury sentenced a terrorist to death in the post-9/11 era. Here's more from ABC News.
21-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev is now the youngest person on federal death row. All 12 jurors deciding tonight he must die for his crimes. Liz Norden has been in court nearly every day. Her sons each lost a leg in the second bombing.
I wanted justice. I wanted justice for my family, and I felt that the ultimate justice was the death penalty.
Prosecutors argued Tsarnaev was unrepentant, showing jurors video of the bomb's chaotic aftermath. Their most damaging evidence, this photo, showing him planting the bomb 4 feet from a row of children, including 8-year-old Martin Richard, who was killed. Then, this video, shot just 20 minutes after the blast. Tsarnaev casually shopping at Whole Foods for a half-gallon of milk. And this image, taken 3 months after the bombing, Tsarnaev making an obscene gesture to a camera in his cell. Proof, prosecutors say, that he was not remorseful.
Today the jury has spoken, and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev will pay with his life for his crimes.
The defense tried to paint Tsarnaev as a gentle little boy and friendly teenager led into jihad by his older brother. They said he feels true remorse, calling as a surprise final witness anti-death penalty crusader Sister Helen Prejean, portrayed in the movie Dead Man Walking. She met with the bomber 5 times and testified he is genuinely sorry for what he did. But jurors, like many of Tsarnaev's victims, were unconvinced. First responder Michael Ward jumped into action and saved lives the day of the bombing.
He wanted to go to hell, and he's going to get there early.
And joining us now in studio is i24News reporter Danny Swinbell. Danny, thank you for being with us this morning. Danny, this verdict, obviously there were no cameramen or camera crews inside the courtroom at the time, but we're hearing reports he was very stoic when they were reading the verdict.
Well, this is one of the reasons why he was eventually given the sentence that he was given. After the 14-hour deliberation, Tsarnaev became the youngest person on federal death row, and it was mostly due because he didn't show remorse throughout the trial. They did deduce that he's a terrorist, he's politically motivated, and he was in full control of his decisions, because this is what some of the things the prosecution that they were using to try to get him was he perhaps under his brother's influence or not. So that was a big question. In the end, his lack of remorse was also they were looking at information like what he wrote on the boat. He wrote, "Stop killing our innocent people and we will stop it." And in jail, he gave the middle finger to the camera. They felt, the jury, that this was an unrepentant kid and therefore deserved the sentence.
And in the U.S., there is an appeal system that's already in place for him.
That's right. The appeal process is automatic, especially something like this. Timothy McVeigh, who was involved in the bombing in '93, took about 4 years. So there's a death penalty on all 6 counts. They will have to win an appeal on all 6 counts, which is virtually impossible for him to get off.
And very quickly, much of the defense was their argument was that it was his brother Tamerlan's influence that forced him to do this. A little bit about his brother?
Well, first of all, only 3 of the 12 jurors believe that that he acted under his brother's influence. They brought up things that the brother was abusive to his wife, that he had a terrorist playlist. He did lectures and understood lectures of Anwar al-Awlaki. They were looking into his Russian trips. But in the end, still, the jury looked at the younger brother and they felt that even despite the older brother's influence and even despite the younger brother's age, that he still knew what he was doing, he had full capacity to engage in this terrorist act.
Danny Swinbell, thank you for joining us for more about this trial and the verdict of the Boston Marathon.